The right to offend is not some pesky little part of freedom of speech that we have to put up with. It is the heart and soul and lungs of freedom of speech. It is the coursing lifeblood of human progress. It is the instigator of liberty and modernity and science and understanding. What a laughing stock today's student leaders are, that they can so casually dismiss the right to be offensive without realizing that their lovely, enlightened lives are the gift of individuals who gave offense. Offensiveness is not just something we have to begrudgingly accept. Offensiveness is the motor of human progress.
Now broadcasting from the Right to Offend Media Studios in sunny South Florida, bringing you the latest in politics, current events, art, and pop culture. This is the Whitfield Report Live with Sam Whitfield.
But giving offense is good. In fact, it's essential.
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good to be back here on YouTube for the Whitfield Report. And I hope you're doing well today. I am mostly doing well. I am absolutely thrilled that the official Whitfield Report YouTube channel is back. Glad to be back. And yeah, things are terrific. A lot has changed since the last time I spoke to some of you. It's been quite a while. But at any rate, like I said, mostly happy to be here. All of the links to support the show are in the show notes and in the description on YouTube. And we'll be, doing a more official, back to YouTube show tomorrow. But I just kind of wanted to do a quick, you know, stream here, mainly to, do one of two things. One, I just wanted to kind of test and, make sure that I still had live streaming on this channel. And looks like things in, the live studio have changed a bit since I was last on here. But then I also wanted to address something, and we'll go into depth a little, more on tomorrow evening's show. But I kind of just wanted to do, like I said, an impromptu, uh, stream. Uh, Kind of about the whole well, not just Nick Fuentes and not just Candace Owens, but this whole thing of this kind of whole power vacuum that has essentially sprung up in the wake of Charlie Kirk's death, which for those who don't know, for those who haven't been here, uh, we covered Charlie Kirk's passing the night that it happened. It happened on a Wednesday, which is the usual time when we go live for the Whitfield Report, usually on Rumble. And Max Morthis and I, my other two co-hosts for the Wednesday show, we reacted to it in real time. And I'm gonna be honest. Losing Charlie Kirk, to say it was a blow to all of us, I think is an understatement. But also, on a more personal level, like, I didn't know Charlie Kirk all that well, but I met him via Skype, really before the show, took off. Um, really, I met him back in 2013, right after I had interviewed, Ben Shapiro, uh, or close to it. Um, and at the time, he was still an unknown, um, he was still kind of an unknown figure. He was just a normal, guy, like I was at the time. And, he had initially offered me to, join Turning Point into, uh he wanted me to be a chapter leader. I was still living in Denver at the time. I had just graduated, high school, in Colorado, and, I had already made the decision that, uh, I was coming down to Florida. I hadn't really told anyone yet, and he was one of the first people I told. He wanted me in Colorado, but I told him, I'm moving to Florida. Um, so and then, as I've said before, once I started college, like around 2015-ish, I just got really busy kind of, going full bore at that, and I didn't really have time to, start a Turning Point chapter, until about, like, 2, almost 3 years into college, and, by the time I was ready, like, a friend of mine, he was already planning on, like, starting a Young Americans, for Liberty chapter at the school, which is very similar to, Turning Point, so we kinda went with them, and, we had a good time, and, but suffice it to say, although I had some disagreements with, Charlie Kirk in the past, it was more like managerial things and kind of like how I thought that Turning Point could do, better. But overall, you know, the Whitfield Report and Right to Offend Media have always supported, Turning Point's mission. And, it really is, like I said, a tragedy that he has, you know, since passed, that he was assassinated. Um, and that he's gone. And what's equally as tragic is that now you have the whole, power vacuum thing, mainly of, people like, Nick Fuentes and Candace Owens, who, right, they desperately want uh, Charlie Kirk's audience. They do. And, neither of them I think are really deserving of it. Let's face facts though, just to be clear, Charlie Kirk is kind of irreplaceable. No one's going to replace him. Uh and I said the same thing when Rush Limbaugh passed. No one is truly ever going to replace Rush. They're both one of a kind. Um but there's been this, power vacuum, uh, or kind of a race to try and take Charlie Kirk's place, and it's not gonna happen. But in addition to that, one of the things that has really kind of driven me crazy, particularly with Candace, is literally 24 hours, not even 24 hours after Charlie Kirk's death, she started to, speculate all these wild, conspiracy theories. And, um, you know, they've ranged from, the Mossad did it, and Israel did it, and even Nick Fuentes, disavowed that and said that that wasn't true. And I suppose that's, kind of the one, uh, you know, half credit I'll give him for anything, really. And then, there have also been implications that, from both of them, that Erica Kirk, Charlie's widow, was somehow involved in all this, that she was somehow secretly plotting to, murder her husband, and that she was somehow in on the conspiracy because she wanted, TP USA for her own. And that's something that, the conspiracy theorists and the woke right, really, as I'm calling them, that's something they've ran with. And not only is there not any evidence for that, ladies and gentlemen, there's no really good motivation, um, in my mind, right? Like, what would possibly be Erica Kirk's motivation to, um, have her husband assassinated? What possible, motive is there? It just doesn't make any sense, right? But the so there's kind of in this whole rift, among the kind of among conservatives, since Charlie's passing, and Matt Walsh, in particular, he uh, he made a tweet. Uh, let's see here. Matt Walsh made a tweet back on September 10th. So the day that Charlie Kirk was killed, in fact, Matt Walsh makes the following tweet here, which I want to read, which is, "The entire right has to band together. Enough of this infighting bullshit. We are up against demonic forces from the pit of hell. They're killing us in our churches. They tried to kill our president. They tried to kill Charlie, one of our greatest advocates. Put the personal squabbles aside. Now's not the time. This is existential. A fight for our own existence and the existence of our own country." And Milo here has the best tweet. Agreed, except for Nick Fuentes, which I retweeted. And he's absolutely right. I want to go ahead and, read you my tweet that I made on this just this morning. I quote tweeted Matt Walsh here and said, except that Nick Fuentes and Candace Owens are both left-wing subversives, probably planted by the DNC to make actual conservatives look good. Now, real quick here, folks, on the outset, I want to say I don't really have like any concrete evidence for that. But as Candace and Nick like to say about Israel and everything else, I'm just asking questions, right? I'm just asking questions as to whether or not, their DNC plans. Sure seems like it because both of them say everything that you know Nick Fuentes and Candace Owens are both basically the basically like the cartoonish character types that the left you know love to try and characterize Rush Limbaugh as, right? Nick has literally said that Hitler was based and that he would like to be Hitler 1, 2, 3, and 4. He said that in his debate with Mr. Medicare. Um, and I know, his fans will say, oh, he was just being, you know, irony. But the thing it is Nick has said stuff with a dead, straight on face. And then, he said, oh, just, that's just irony, bro. And, I want to, let me see if I can pull this up here. There's another example of, something that he said in the interview with Tucker Carlson yesterday, which I didn't watch the full interview, but he, I watched chunks of it. Here's here's a clip from, Tucker's interview with Nick Fuentes last night. And this is really, as I tweeted last night, this is really where I've lost massive respect for, Tucker. As I said in this post here last night, any respect I might have had for Tucker is nearly gone. That's the tweet. And yeah, then here, Nick Fuentes admits he is a fan of Joseph Stalin. And, Tucker gives absolutely no pushback here. None whatsoever. Which is really kind of a bummer. Because I used to like Tucker. But anyway, let's play this, shall we?
Like mid-December, late December. It's actually funny. It was December 18th. I remember because that's an important date to me. And it's Joseph Stalin's birthday.
Oh.
I'm a fan.
You're a fan of Stalin's?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I was an admirer. But we don't need to go into that, I guess.
Well, that's okay. Let's get back. We'll circle back to that.
It was like mid-December.
Yeah. So Tucker just said, Tucker takes a play out of, Jen Psaki's playbook and says, "Oh, you're a fan of Stalin? Okay, we'll circle back to that, Nick." if I'm in Tucker's position, that's immediately where I go, wait, you're a fan of Stalin. Tell me more. Like, why do you like Stalin? I thought Tucker was supposed to get, to be like a major investigative journalist there. I thought that's what you were, Tucker. And I guess not though. So yeah. Oh, by the way, hey Pygris, well, long story short, my channel got reinstated, buddy. So, yes, I am still around. Technically, I guess the channel is, risen from the dead. But, I never left. I was just in YouTube exile for the past couple years. I'm gonna do a more full show tomorrow night, as I usually do, but this is just kind of like an impromptu one, to mainly test the stream out and whatnot. So yeah. Anyway, though, great to see you here, friend. Anyway, though, as I was saying, there are other off moments from this interview here. Let's see here. Oh yeah, and then Tucker himself says stuff that's pretty off color, like he hates Christian Zionists, of which Charlie
Jewish.
Kirk could be
They're
considered one of them, I guess. Now, so this wasn't great either. But let's let me get back here. Okay.
How do you explain Mike Huckabee, Ted Cruz, and there are a lot like that, John Bolton? I mean, I've known them all, George W. Bush, like Karl Rove. I mean, all people I know personally who I've seen like be seized by this brain virus, and they're not Jewish. Most of them are self-described Christians, and then the Christian Zionists who are, well, Christian Zionists. Like, what is that?
Right.
And I could just say for myself, I dislike them more than anybody, because like, what? Because it's Christian heresy, and I'm offended by that as a Christian. That's why. So I don't, like, why not? Like, I'm pissed at the neocons, very pissed. I've said that a million times. I've been mad since December of 2003 when I went to Iraq. And so, like, I went and asked straightforward questions to Ted Cruz, because that seemed like there's a sitting senator who's like serving for Israel by his own description. He seemed like a worthy target. I'm not going after MTG, who's like the most sincere like, why not go after Ted Cruz? I don't understand.
So, okay. I don't like the neocons either. I don't think that there are very many people who do. And I'm an America first, but to say that the Christian Zionists are somehow worse than the radical Islamists. No, I'm sorry, that's not. No, just no. And this again is where Tucker loses me. Um, Brandon Tatum. I tweeted this. I retweeted this last night. Tucker is literally calling Charlie a heretic, whom he despised, who also had a mind virus. Charlie Kirk was a Christian Zionist. This is disgusting. Let's see. Yeah. Uh, and Fuentes is a Trump hater and an anti Semite. Um, I mean, so, I guess, there is the argument to be made that, when Tucker was interviewing him, he was just allowing Nick to, to kind of like hang himself to expose his own idiocy to people. And that's true, but like Tucker kind of did the same thing here too. So, I don't know if Tucker's too by himself. I mean, we know now he takes money from Qatar, and that's who's funding him. Like, he wants to talk about like, oh, conservative Christian Zionism is bad. Like, I've been accused of being funded by you know, by Israel, by some anti Semites or something, right? And like, I only have what 800. I had 840 subscribers when the channel was banned or something like that, and I think now I only have like 830 subscribers on YouTube, and like a couple thousand Spotify and Apple Podcast, you know, followers. Like, I'm not doing bad for numbers. I've got a decent, Twitter following, but still, like, I'm not the guy who's being propped up by, Israel, right? And why is it always them? Like, nobody bats an eye when you mention that, like, Tucker is funded by Qatar. Now, though, this might, be the case. And also, who's backing Fuentes? That's what I want to know. Who's backing him? Um, so let's switch here a bit because to Candace Owens, and let me pull this clip up here. By the way, it's good to, see people in in chat again and seeing people tuning. And we have about 25 viewers total across all platforms right now. So that's awesome. And really appreciate you guys coming out. Okay, so going into Candace, she's been, as I said, basically making the Charlie
fighting for answers.
She's basically, from day one, she's basically made Charlie Kirk's assassination all about her. Like, that's what she's done. And so, like I said, she's had every single conspiracy theory, ranging from, the Mossad did it to, Erica Kirk was somehow behind her husband's murder, which makes no sense and is ridiculous. So let's take a look at some of her nonsense here. Again, she's making this all about herself.
But I was so clearly deluded in the immediate aftermath of his death that I was operating under this function. I mean, I truly believed that I would be fighting for answers to what actually happened on 9/10 alongside Charlie's Inner Circle. I thought the band maybe was going to get back together. We were all going to maybe be on a group chat. Me, Tyler Boyer, Andrew Colvett, Stacey Sheridan, even. If you're wondering who Stacey Sheridan is, by the way, she's the one who's holding the camera when Charlie's casket is being escorted off of Air Force Two. She's like the chief money person, essentially, at Turning Point USA. She was brought in to reel in the big donors. I remember exactly when that happened. All of those people, by the way, were actually brought in by Tyler Boyer. He's a very important character in the story, but we're going to get into all of that tomorrow. The point that I'm making here is that I had assumed, clearly wrongly, that we'd all maybe be on a group chat community.
By the way, I've interacted with Tyler Boyer. Great guy. Can't say anything bad about him, honestly. People have asked me why Tyler Boyer wasn't the one to take over, Turning Point USA. Why was Erica Kirk that took over Turning Point USA instead of Tyler Boyer? And I don't know, the easiest answer I can come up with. I haven't, talked to Turning Point people in years, who are still there. Apparently neither has Candace. But, the easiest answer as to why, Erica Kirk took over for, Turning Point is that's what Charlie wanted. I know. Shocking, right? In the event of his passing, like, Charlie wanted his wife to take over. And they're all, there are conspiracy theories about that. Like, that's the thing with these people. The conspiracy theories are never ending. But yeah, I mean, Tyler Boyer is, as far as I've always known him, has always been more of like a behind the scenes, guy. Like, yeah, he's a public, he is a public figure, but he's more of the day-to-day guy. He was when, Charlie was alive, and he still is now, I'm assuming. So, yeah, these theories are ridiculous.
Raising hell and demanding answers from the feds, from the police, from the White House, even. Certainly, at the very least, pointing out the very many holes in this story. And if any one of us had the audacity or the desire to carry on Charlie Kirk's show, that would be the appropriate venue for asking those sorts of questions. But no, I was wrong. Silence is what we were met with. In fact, I am told that these people believe the official narrative. Lone shooter. No one else involved. Just a crazy guy with too many pronouns in his bio. Hey, 1963 called and they want their narrative back. All that's missing from the story is a grassy knoll, right? Just need a grassy knoll.
Why is it, okay, why is it, Candace, that everything has to be conspiracy theory? Right? I get it. supposedly you're mourning Charlie Kirk, although now it seems like, you're just using his passing to, further your own agenda. But let's say you are sincere. Like, I get it. Grief does crazy things. But the FBI, let's be clear about this, like Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, the people who run the FBI are literally like MAGA guys, right? So there's no left-wing deep state, within the FBI, like secretly trying to cover up Charlie Kirk's death, or at least there doesn't seem to be any evidence you've provided isn't really like it's all speculative, right? Like if the FBI was supposedly like in on Charlie's death or whatnot, as you've claimed, before, like okay, where's the evidence? It just keeps like yeah. Now I don't know for sure that like that there was one lone, shooter. But like why does it have to be like a deep state conspiracy? Like we know that Tyler Robinson, the guy who shot, Charlie, was like linked to all these Antifa groups. He was linked to an Antifa he was like in an Antifa Discord that just came out like yesterday or something. But yeah.
Anyways, back at headquarters, I am told it's business as usual. And it's kind of giving me like, I don't know, LBJ when he gets sworn in that famous picture. Unfortunately, sworn in. Unfortunately, of course, he's sad in this photo. Gosh, he's obviously not wanting to be the president of the United States. JFK was shot and killed. And now LBJ has to step up, unfortunately. But I got to be honest, I wasn't there. I don't think LBJ was actually that upset. I don't know why.
You weren't there when Charlie Kirk was assassinated either, Candace. So again, like you don't know the full narrative of what happened. Neither of us do, but like the fact that the police and the feds haven't uncovered Antifa ties with this Tyler Tyler Robinson, that's more substantive than whatever you've been going on about.
Vibes. The vibes just aren't vibing for me in that picture.
Ah, yes, vibes. Yeah, because vibes, that's really evidential. Okay.
But maybe he was. Maybe the truth is that LBJ simply, use an expression, had his wits about him. And JFK had a plan. Like in the event that he had been horrifically assassinated in front of the world, JFK maybe had a succession plan. Now, if these terms I'm using here sound familiar to you, it's because they should sound familiar.
I mean, yeah, Candace, that's kind of how the presidency and the vice presidency works, right? Like if the president gets assassinated or not even assassinated, but if the VP is, I mean, if the president is incapacitated and cannot do the job as president of the United States, then yeah, like that's literally when the VP is like supposed to step in and do the job. Like, come on.
the exact terminology that was utilized by Pastor Rob McCoy just 4 days after Charlie was murdered. In front of his congregation, he spoke about Charlie's succession plan that he was somehow privy to. I don't know why, but he knew 4 days later and announced to the world that Charlie indeed had a plan. Take a listen.
Everyone's worried about the leadership of TPUSA. Don't. He was wise enough at 31 to put together a plan for succession. It's very clear what they decided, and they're implementing it now.
Okay. Why is that, Candace? Why is that a red flag? You know, like, as I said on the night of Charlie's assassination, like, yeah, it's unthinkable that, like, out of all the like public figures, you know, in the conservative movement, like, Charlie was kind of the last one you would think would be um an assassination target. But even so, you know, he probably was like prepared for the very worst, right? And so, yeah, it doesn't surprise me. So, you know, why is this a whole thing with Candace?
Amazing. I mean, amazing. So on September 14th, we were made aware of this succession plan. And I find that to be fascinating. The people who didn't even know Charlie all around the world seem to be fighting harder for him, fighting harder for truth. And it is, in fact, thanks to people on the internet like Sam Parker, James Lee.
Okay, so you know, she's just doing her promotional thing. So, uh, you know, hopefully you guys, you know, kind of get my point. She seems to have like a lot of sour grapes when it comes to this whole thing. And yeah. All right, let's go over to another clip. So we've talked a bit about you know, Fuentes, who is kind of a bad faith actor. There is one more kind of compilation though I want to play here, that while we're kind of looking at Twitter videos, that I want to take a look at here. So you know, so all of this is to let me just make sure. Uh all of this, folks, is to you know, say that there's clearly been a power vacuum. Um you know, going kind of in within the, you know, the right, so to speak, and the grifters are out in full force ever since you know, Charlie was assassinated. Um which is extremely unfortunate. And let's see here. I'm scrolling Okay. Maybe it's... My apologies, folks. I thought I had this already, like, in my bookmarks here, but apparently not so. Bear with me here. Actually, let me take a quick break real quick. And we'll be right back, actually. Alrighty, folks, and I apologize for the, you know, for the little impromptu timeout there. I just had to find a clip that I thought I had bookmarked, but I hadn't fully yet. Anyway, that's that's one of the things about doing the show live. Unfortunately, sometimes technical stuff gets in the way. But anyway, we are back to kind of, summarize what is the woke right. Well, it's the folks like Candace Owens and Nick Fuentes who, basically play the same victim identity politics as the far left does, but they, so they basically do the same thing that, the woke left does with the whole victimhood mentality, except for the except that they like to make, complaints about, like, instead of like Mao possibly, not being so bad as the left has claimed, or, the left thinks that Stalin is pretty based. They say things like, oh, well, Hitler wasn't such a bad guy, or, stuff like that. A lot of them want reparations for, white people, and they have that whole victim mentality too. Just a lot, and there's a whole compilation on kind of what the woke right is that someone put together, and I think yeah. Um oh shoot, what up, Basic? Uh Good to see you too, man. Yeah. Yeah, my it's been a while, dude. Like I said at the beginning of the show, the channel just got reinstated. Uh, you know, for the viewers, Basic says, Sam, I saw you streaming with a hairy dude on X. I'm assuming that that's Max that you've seen. Um, yeah. Yeah, you've probably seen Max. So, yeah, he'll be on the Wednesday show tomorrow. This is just kind of like an impromptu test show to kind of make sure that the streaming thing already works. And yeah. So yeah, good to see you too. But yeah, come by tomorrow, 10 p.m. That's when we'll be doing the actual, Wednesday night show. So should be good to get the crew back together. And yeah, Pikers is absolutely right. Yeah, I would agree that the woke right includes the Matt Walsh types Pikers. You're absolutely right about that. Anyway though, there is a compilation. Rather than me trying to explain what the woke right is, let's just view it for ourselves, shall we? So, Douglas K. Murray tried to warn Joe Rogan about the woke right earlier this year. And when this first came out, I was kind of like, okay, what's going on? Like, there isn't a, woke on the right. And then, it's started to make more sense. So let me cue this up. Okay. So, yeah.
I will find something that he did that I wouldn't have done, because if I'd have been running the British Empire in 1939, I'd have known exactly how to do it, and I'd have known how to hold the whole thing together, and I'd have kept Stalin back, and he'd have been great at Yalta.
Okay, so one of the things that like these Nick Fuentes and Candace Owens type, they love to demonize Winston Churchill, which is what Douglas Murray is talking about here. So Churchill bad, but Hitler good, is an example of kind of this mindset that's gone on, which is, again, totally bizarre.
And this is...
But I don't think anybody's saying that.
Yeah. And maybe I'm being a little hyperbolic, maybe. But I told him, maybe trying to provoke him a little bit, that I thought Churchill was the chief villain of the Second World War. Now, he didn't kill the most people. He didn't commit the most atrocities. But I believe, and I think when you really get into it and tell the story right and don't leave anything out, you see that he was primarily responsible for that war becoming what it did.
He and these other guys are all doing the anti-Churchill stuff now.
But he's not doing an anti-Churchill stuff.
The circles I float in, it wasn't that crazy of a thing to say. It's like, yeah, we all know Churchill is the villain. I thought that was common knowledge.
But you can't say he helped his country. I was in London 2 weeks ago. Like that, they didn't win the war in any meaningful way. Like he wrecked the country.
Dave Smith is one of these like edgy ANCAP types too. He's like oh boy, this is going to bring back some memories for some of you. Dave Smith, as far as I can tell, is a slightly more organized and more coherent Owen Benjamin. And I know for, some subscribers of the channel, your ears just probably perked up because I covered that clown for, a good portion of this channel's original lifespan, if you're on YouTube. But yeah, like, need I say more? And yeah, like Piker said, yeah, Matt Walsh would definitely be on the woke right too. But let's keep going.
The question is like, where's the victory? I don't understand. Like, everyone wants to yell at you for not loving Churchill. Okay, well, show me the victory.
Because we've all been so brainwashed by the school system to believe that, oh, look how great things are. Let me ask you about your country. Do you think that your country has become greater since? Has our country become greater since? Absolutely not.
Brutal war.
Yeah, it was an existential threat because if Germany won, they would have seized Russia. And who knows what the world would look like today.
Right. It's hard to say. Worse, better, we have no idea to know, right?
World War II was perhaps the greatest catastrophe in human history. And the starting point of any discussion about it must be that of all the possible outcomes that could have resulted from events leading up to the conflict, the one that ended up happening was the worst of all.
But there still is just the basic facts that it almost couldn't have gone worse.
Sorry, I just have to address that fundamental. You say the outcome of World War II and everything that happened in it was the worst thing that's ever happened, and the worst thing imaginable, worst possible outcome, you said.
Just about.
You said worst possible outcome. Let me give you a much worse possible outcome. Hitler wins.
Right. Okay. Sure.
So it's not the worst possible outcome.
I mean,
That's true.
Listen, but okay, Hitler. Yes. Okay. I'm not saying you can't dream up a worse outcome.
Do you decide to go, hey, what else have we been lied to? Maybe Churchill wasn't a great guy. Maybe Hitler wasn't such a bad guy. Maybe the Holocaust, etc., etc.
Nobody
And that is
is saying that.
exactly
No
what
one
they're-
is saying maybe Hitler wasn't such a bad guy.
Because I honestly think that Hitler was a good guy based upon my own research, not my public education indoctrination.
To transcribe Hitler's speeches in English. I was like, oh, this dude's probably racist as shit. He's probably going to say the N-word every... Right? I was like, oh my God.
He's just very pro-Germany. Like,
listen to what he's talking about, and it's like, fuck, this sounds like the problems we're having today. Like, he was trying to like encourage community, encourage, family values, remove the perversion. He wanted to do
Dan Bilzerian is, like, how did that guy even get lumped in with it, right? The Hodge twins, I usually like them, but lately, yeah.
still morals. I mean, was he a good guy or not? I don't fucking know. I wasn't there, but I was told that he is the worst guy in the fucking history of the world, and that's for sure not true.
Hitler was awesome. Hitler was right, and the Holocaust didn't happen.
I like Hitler. I do not. The Holocaust is not what happened. Let's look at the facts of that. And Hitler has a lot of redeeming qualities.
By the way, like, Kanye, okay, to be fair, Kanye West has gone, like, back and forth, like, I mean, come on. Like, Kanye West, he's not, I don't even want to say he's woke or based or anything like that. Like, Kanye West is just like a clear schizo. The one thing that was funny about that whole about this, interview that he did with Alex Jones, though, is that, like, that was the first time, like, in human history, I think, that CNN was, like, defending Alex Jones. I think that's, like, the one and only time I've seen CNN, like, defending Alex Jones as, like, well, Jones pushed back and he actually wasn't the craziest guy in the room. And by the way, I still think Jones is a bit crazy too, but that's another topic for another time.
She said something along the lines of, oh yeah, 6 million Jews died in the Holocaust. And I was like, oh my God, bro, here we fucking.
I'm just so sick of hearing that, you playing along with something that you just know.
Oh yeah, Fresh and Fit, the the women abusing pickup artist crew. And this Jake Shields guy, I've never heard him. I've heard of him, but he sounds, everything I've seen of him on Twitter, he just seems like an utter piece of shit. So yeah, we don't, I think that's a pretty good, thing of what's going on now. Dinesh D'Souza, who I've long admired, he does a really good, take on kind of explaining what the woke right is too. And yeah. We have fallen far from the days of Rush Limbaugh as a conservative voice. And, William F. Buckley, even Christopher Hitchens, who was on the left, was more aligned with where I'm at than a lot of these people like Fuentes who want to say they're on the who want to try and claim Charlie Kirk's mantle. It's bizarre. It really honestly is. But anyway, so Dinesh D'Souza, who, you know, I've been a long time fan of, and yeah, I know he got you know, pinched for like campaign finance, but that was because he was investigating Hillary Clinton during the you know, during the 2016 elections. Of course they were, you know, of course they were going to frame him for something. I'm honestly surprised he's still alive and that he didn't go whack. But I've always liked Dinesh. He tried to be the you know, kind of the bridge between like the more establishment like National Review conservative and the, you know, and the new Trump conservatives, and the National Review crowd, you know, they kind of hung Dinesh out to dry, but I've always liked him. So he has a good take on the like the Tucker Carlson and the Candace Owen types specifically here, and how things have gone woke. So let me pull this up real quick and get this over here a bit. Okay. So we'll kind of end the show on this clip, because it's kind of like a really good summary of everything that we've discussed. So, continuing on.
And it was obviously, you know, it was a horrific moment for this country and for America. But actually, just globally, I thought it was just a horrific moment for the world. And seeing that happen to a father of two young children, simply being killed because of his political views, that was absolutely shocking. And because of how shocking it was, there was a naive part of me that thought that this might be a reset opportunity for everybody. And I thought maybe the left will go, oh no, we can't, there are some Nazis and they have to be called out, but we can't call center-right people Nazis. We can't throw around labels like fascist, because I've said it on this show a number of times. We said it on Joe Rogan yesterday. If you keep calling someone, if I thought the Nazis were here to invade, I'd pick up a rifle and go to the front line. So when you call someone a Nazi, you are literally putting a target on their back. And I also thought it might be a moment in
which is absolutely true, by the way. And I want to be clear, like I've criticized people like, you know, Fuentes and Candace Owens. I've criticized them a lot on this show and particularly in this episode. I want to be clear though too. You know, one of the things that I've gotten accused of is, you know, oh, you criticize the right, you know, far too much, and you don't criticize the left enough, or you know, people think I criticize the left too much when I do that. So there's no pleasing people, and I do have kind of a, you know, a thing on kind of my whole morality when it comes to this, but I'll save that for the end of the show.
in which the right might reconnect around its core values and core ideas and go, you know, we need to get together and challenge all of this. Well, what's happened is the exact opposite. You know, the left is doubling down on all this stuff. And on the right, you now have these very fringe voices who are saying, you know, a foreign country assassinated Charlie Kirk and making up stuff about planes that left before the assassination that proved that all of this crazy stuff. You've been quite outspoken about all of that. Talk to us about this whole thing.
Yeah, I think that, look how strange it is. You have
you had a militarization around Antifa, which became publicly evident over the George Floyd riots. That's the Antifa element. There's the BLM element, which has somewhat subsided. But what has taken its place is these violent trans rings. I'm not talking about people who are trans. I'm talking about people who think that the society is out to get them. And so they go to training camps and they talk about doing martial arts or shooting people or fighting with weapons. Now, again, I don't think there's a lot of reasoning to be done with those people. If you look at the Portland rioters, if you look at these Antifa militants, and if you look at these trans terrorists, it's really important to sort of get to the bottom of it, excavate exactly what happened. So there was some reports after Charlie Kirk's assassination that there was prior knowledge of what was going to happen, that there were people in chats talking about, hey, something really big is going to happen. Not just big happen, it's going to happen to Charlie Kirk tomorrow at so-and-so location. Well, I mean, this would suggest, if not a conspiracy, at least prior knowledge. People who knew that he was going to be shot. Just when the FBI, the authorities are sort of moving to crack down on all this, along from the right comes Candace Owens with this sort of idea that, hey, let's take a look at these photos. I see a pipe. I wonder if a Mossad agent might have crawled through the pipe. I mean, stuff that is just absolutely crazy. Now, again, if she were to produce some substantial evidence, a single reliable fact that, let's just say, contravenes the government's theory, and she says it couldn't have been that, because take a look at this. But the investigative style, although I admit it's from a certain point of view, it's like irresistible to watch, because it's like listening to a well-trained philosopher who has completely lost his mind and is now in an asylum and is giving you crazy discourse, but it's crazy discourse that is, that is embedded with witticisms and all kinds of, and you're like, you can't turn away from it from a certain point. Candace is actually quite magnetic in the way she presents information, and she has a style, it's an intellectual striptease, because she never puts her cards out and goes, here's what I got. She goes, okay, well, I got something. Let me show you something.
Yeah, and that's exactly what Candace has done. As I played in that clip earlier, right? Like, she says stuff like, well, isn't it strange that this pastor knew about Charlie Kirk's succession plan? Isn't it strange that Erica Kirk is taking over Turning Point USA and not Tyler Boyer? So she's doing that whole thing where she's making accusations in the guise of questions and trying, basically she's doing what I do, except I write thrillers, right? I write political thrillers, and my thrillers are fiction, right? They have, they are based in fact somewhat, but they are largely fictional. Like, she's trying to make a thriller, though, out of actual real news, which is totally, bizarre. So yeah, Dinesh is spot on here.
Then, more to come tomorrow and more to come the day after that. It's a little deranged, but it is, there's something magnetic about it, right? But look at the political effect and how pernicious it is. It's taking attention away from the actual, not just the bad guy, but these ideological bad actors that are embedded in our society. And it's basically telling everybody, look over here, it's the Jews, or it's Israel, or it's Mossad. Now, you'd have to ask yourself, well, why would someone do that? right? Or to look more broadly, to take the phenomenon now, go beyond Candace and take the larger phenomenon. You've got a strange but pernicious alliance between the cultural left in the West and radical Islam. I actually wrote about this in a book that I published around 2006. It was called The Enemy at Home. I was reacting to Samuel Huntington's idea that there's a clash of civilizations between us, the West, and them, meaning the House of Islam. And my argument was, not exactly. There's a division inside the West, and there's also a division inside of Islam. And I said, not only that, but the cultural left is going to become strange bedfellows with the radical Muslims. This seems fantastic because the two groups have utterly different end goals, and they cannot inhabit each other's world. And not only that, but if they were in full control, they would come to blows. But they are united against a common enemy. And who is the common enemy? Well, it's the Jews and Israel on the one hand, and it's America and the principles of the West on the other. So it would seem natural, unavoidable, that Jews and Christians, America and Israel should come closer together in recognition of this obvious, nefarious alliance. Let's call it, my film, The Dragon's Pride. This is like the devil's split.
And so, yeah, that's pretty much always why I've been like pro-Israel and why a lot of people are pro-Israel. It's not necessarily that I'm Israel first, like so many of Fuentes's, ilk like to say, but I recognize that radical Islam is a problem. And it's not just a problem for Israel, but it is a problem for, America too, right? Like the radical Islamists, they love to say that, America's the great Satan and that, Israel is the little Satan. And so our alliance with Israel in that sense is mutual. Now, as I've said before, and I haven't been on YouTube since the whole since the October 7th thing happened, since before then even. I will grant folks out there that certainly I think you can criticize Benjamin Netanyahu individually, right? And you can criticize his administration for these bombings in Gaza and whatnot, and maybe he, rushed, maybe rushed in a little, full force bit, all that. There's alleged corruption around Bibi, all that. Okay, I'm fine with. You can criticize individuals, right? But the moment you start to criticize Israel or Palestine or in one of these groups as the Jews, or the Muslims. When I criticize Islam, by the way, I'm criticizing radical Islam, fundamental Islam. I try not to, blankly, paint groups with broad brushes. That's not what we do here in America. That's not what we should aspire to be. But I do think you can criticize individual groups. And yeah, like I said, I think Dinesh is spot on with his explanation of why we need to get along with Israel here.
Tunes. All right. Well, the good people need to come together. So I can understand why the left is doing what it does, because it is an ideological war against the Jews and Israel, no less than against Christians and the West. What I don't understand is this movement on the right that is attempting to sever our connection with Israel, and I think in the process undermining Trump, undermining MAGA, undermining America's national interests, undermining the foundations of the West, which are Athens and Jerusalem. But on top of all of that, strengthening radical Islam and strengthening the cultural left.
Hang on, but you say you don't understand. Let me push back on that. I think it's relatively simple to understand, Dinesh.
How so?
If you go along this way of like, the left have done this, they've done all these egregious things, these tactics to silence and destroy, to play identity politics, to say if you're white and male, you're bottom of the oppression pyramid, which means you're far less likely to get a job, far less likely to progress. It becomes socially acceptable, let's be honest, to demonize you, particularly if you're blue collar and white and male. You automatically become thick, stupid and racist. Then why wouldn't you start to tribalize? Why wouldn't you become conspiratorial? Why wouldn't you go out and attack the people that you think have done you wrong?
Absolutely right. So I do not blame the fractured, dislocated, angry young people who are responding in just the way that you say. I know why they're doing that. But I do blame the Pied Pipers who are leading them to the precipice, who should know better, right?
Let me try a few other theories on you, because I don't think the explanation Francis gives is fully here, because what it doesn't really explain is why there are certain people now absolutely obsessed with the Jews. Why are they obsessed with Israel? Because it's not Israel or the Jews that...
And this is this conversation, I'll have to dig into this full trigonometry podcast. I haven't seen the whole episode. I've just seen this clip, but I do think it's a very interesting explanation of kind of what's gone on. So,
caused the cultural disintegration that you're talking about. They didn't take over college campuses 40 years ago and introduce all this anti-Western crap. I think there's a few things going on that I think are contributing as well. One of them is, I wrote an article when Tucker Carlson went to Russia and interviewed President Putin, which was called Tucker Carlson and the Woke Right, in which I basically said that there is these sections on the right that have become very focused on victimhood and are replicating some of the things we saw on the left in doing so. And when you're focused on victimhood, you have to find someone who's victimizing you. And at that point...
Exactly. So that's pretty much what the woke right is. He just defined it pretty clearly.
Jews and Israel were not the thing. And I said, for now, the label is globalists. And those sections of the right keep talking about globalists. But a globalist isn't something that you can visualize. No one has, like when I say globalist, a picture of a person doesn't come into your head. So they were looking for somebody to be the scapegoat, the explanation that explains everything, like the left's explanation of, well, everything is because of white supremacy. Everything is because of institutional racism. Everything is because of straight white men. Saying that's one thing. The other thing is, once President Trump gets elected for a second term, in the overwhelming fashion in which that happens, what does the media do, whose entire, new media in particular, whose entire identity became, it was the anti-woke coalition, of which trigonometry was 100% a part of. But once that collapses, we don't really talk about wokeness very much anymore on the show, because it's kind of, I think it's overstating the case to say it's over, but it's not the live issue right now. Right? We don't talk about trans issues, which we used to talk about, because it's not the live issue right now. So if you are in a right of center media person or channel or organization, you can either keep beating, you know that meme of stop, he's already dead, right? That's not going to get you any views because beating up on the Democrats, I mean, we don't even know where they are anymore, right? So you have to go, the incentive structure is to go in a more conspiratorial, out there direction. Those are my two other bits that I'd put to you.
Yeah, I have a bunch of little things to add to that. So the first one is that in the Reagan era, in conservatism, there was a certain, I would call it the intellectual guardians of the tribe. People like William F. Buckley, Reagan to a certain degree, but there were others, Irving Kristol. And the idea here was that if you came in with like the poison of anti-Semitism, blatant racism, criticism of affirmative action, yes. Calling blacks monkeys, no. So if you did that, you were basically asked to leave the room. And you were abolished from you wouldn't be invited to conservative conferences. You certainly wouldn't be a speaker. It would basically be the end of you as a public figure. So that's gone. And it's gone, why? Partly because we don't have a conservative intellectual class that performs that task. And why don't we have?
Well, you have me and you have Max Sands. But yeah, I mean, Rush is no longer around. Charlie Kirk was kind of that part of the intellectual class. We're far and few in between. I don't go super viral on YouTube or on like an Eclipse. Why? Because I consistently criticize both sides, and I always have.
That, well, partly because the mainstream of that class went never Trump. And so when I look around for, like, if I were to make a list of, let's say, 30 of my colleagues from the Reagan days, I would say that probably about 25 of them went anti-Trump. And they went to anti-Trump in different places. John Bolton is a little different place than, say, Bill Kristol. But nevertheless, they're by and large excluded from MAGA. And what happened is partly as a result of...
And I would say that unfortunately that's also because like Bill Kristol and John Bolton they were more neocons, right? Like I wouldn't even say they were considered intellectuals, they were just straight up neocons. Charlie Kirk was a MAGA intellectual. So was Rush Limbaugh. So is Michael Savage, actually. He is one I would say is still around. Now, Michael Savage at this point is more canceled than I am, actually. Which is, wild. Although, I hope that Savage has his YouTube channel back. I'll have to check that out, maybe.
A cultural shift. MAGA produces a new type of pundit who is not. I mean, think of the distance between, say, Irving Kristol and Tucker Carlson. Tucker doesn't even purport to be knowledgeable about anything, right? So as a result, what Tucker says is, I will develop a ventriloquist style. I have strong opinions, but I don't want to defend any of them. So I will set up a structure in which I bring in sources, often rather dubious sources, people you've never heard of. The nun with the mustache, some disgraced academic. And what I'll do is I will ask sort of leading questions in which is embedded an answer, my answer, but framed as a question. You then will blurt out the obvious implications of the question, giving me the answer I expected, but I will pretend to be thunderstruck by it. It's an epiphany. It's a new revelation. People have been suppressing this kind of thinking for decades. So this is a shtick. It's a different shtick than Candace. Candace's shtick is the Candace Intelligence Agency. I'm like the world's greatest detective. I'm the Pink Panther of my time. I'm deputizing all my viewers also to be detectives. Feed me information. We're going to crack the case. So to me, this is like an intellectual embarrassment because all my life I've been an iconoclast. I will take on ideas and I will try to dismantle them, but not in this way. My ideas are things like this. The Dixiecrats all became Republicans. And my strategy of challenging that is I go make an inventory of the 200 Dixiecrats. I put them up on a movie screen and I say, all right, I'm now going to show you through a movement of the mouse which of these 200 Dixiecrats became Republicans. Answer 2. So did the Dixiecrats as a group become Republicans? No. There's the empirical evidence right there on the screen. You can check it out, for yourself. So when I see this almost parody of investigation, parody of scholarship, it's very unnerving. Now, for young people, just as you said, there is a susceptibility to all this, and also there's no easy check on it. Like, for example, right now I'm in these big debates about Christian theology, but I'm debating Christian theology with people who have listened to 2 podcasts, right? I've written 3 books on Christian apologetics. I've thought about this stuff for 30 years, but it's difficult to address people who say things like, Dinesh, open a Bible once in a while. You might learn something. I'm like, are you serious?
Yeah.
But our culture has had that leveling effect. This guy who's watched 2 podcasts is on an even playing field with me. Now, this would not have been the case in the Reagan years because that guy would not be speaking at a conference at AEI. So there was a filtering structure that is now gone.
And look,
there are good things about that.
Well, that's right.
Yeah.
I was going to say that. And I know you've tried to debate Tuck, and this is one of the other things that I do find strange because, with some notable exceptions, quite a lot of these people don't engage in what used to happen, which is you come together and you have these debates and discussions. But now I think the economic incentives aren't there. You don't need to do that. Like, if you're Candace, you just do your show and you make millions of dollars talking about how someone you used to call your friend, denigrating his legacy, in my opinion, and all of that. But you don't need to go and engage in a debate. There's nothing to gain, really, right? And so everything gets siloed. Something we've learned.
Very sad but true. But that's kind of the whole, I guess, a good summary of, kind of what the whole woke right is. Now, to kind of conclude this whole thing, ladies and gentlemen, let me just say here that yes, I do criticize the right a lot. Sometimes more than the left. Why? Because I hold our side, the conservative side, to a higher standard than I do the left. I know that the far left is crazy. We know they're insane. We know they're woke. None of that surprises any of us. And sadly, it doesn't really surprise me on with the woke right now either. But like I said, I hold us to a higher standard. We should not become the movement of just blaming the Jews for everything. We shouldn't play the same exact victim mentality as the left does. There is something to be said for sure about calling left-wing media bias out and calling out big tech when they're censorious and shadow banning and outright banning people. Absolutely, that should be called out, right? And I'm glad that people have, because up until YouTube was called before Congress, right, my channel was banned. I hadn't had access to this channel in 3 years. So yes, I'm well aware that wokeness on the left has gone too far. And here's the thing. I don't want Fuentes or Candace or Tucker to be censored. I don't want any of these people to be censored. What I don't want to have what I don't want to have happen either is that they be invited in with, good faith, when they clearly have put no good faith towards any of us. Right? Nick Fuentes is a bad faith actor. Like, a lot of people think he was the reason, lots of people think that him and, the Groypers were one of the reasons why the channel got struck down initially in the first place. And they might be right. So, suffice it to say, I just don't want bad faith actors in the conservative movement. I want people who are going to, for sure, add intellectual diversity and make good arguments, but yeah, none of these smarmy bad faith actors. That's it. That's all I want. I just don't want bad faith actors in the conservative movement who are left-wing plants. And as far as I can tell, certainly that's what Fuentes is. And it's looking pretty much like Candace and Tucker are going in the same direction. But anyway, folks, that'll just about do it for today's show. I want to thank you all so very much for tuning in to this impromptu broadcast. We'll be back tomorrow evening at 10 p.m. Eastern for kind of the revival of the We Filled for Wednesday on YouTube. And Max and Morthis will be joining me. Should be a pretty fun show. And I want to thank Pycris and Basic 28927 for popping in chat today. Real appreciate seeing you guys. Appreciate all of you who have tuned in on all the various other platforms. We'll see you tomorrow. I'm Sam Whitfield. And by the way, before I forget, I have books. Now I'm a published author. Since the last time I spoke to some of you, I have 2 thriller series. One of which is Shadows of Deception. This is the latest book in this series. Sins the Assassin. Available on Amazon. You can find the whole entire series, though. And also, let's see here. Blood Ties Volume 1, which is my mafia and crime thriller anthology series. You can pick this up on Amazon as well. And Volume 2 of Blood Ties will be coming out probably next week, beginning of November. So, yeah, you can go and purchase both these books on Amazon. Really appreciate everyone who does. and just supports the show in general. If you like the show, please like, comment, subscribe, share the show, all that. And yeah, thanks for supporting the show. And like I said, we'll be back tomorrow for the Whitfield Report Live, 10 p.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube, Rumble Video, X, Kick, all those great places. I'm Sam Whitfield, signing off. I'll see you tomorrow evening, folks. Take care.
The right to offend is not some pesky little part of freedom of speech that we have to put up with. It is the heart and soul and lungs of freedom of speech. It is the coursing lifeblood of human progress. It is the instigator of liberty and modernity and science and understanding. What a laughing stock today's student leaders are, that they can so casually dismiss the right to be offensive without realizing that their lovely, enlightened lives are the gift of individuals who gave offense. Offensiveness is not just something we have to begrudgingly accept. Offensiveness is the motor of human progress.
Thank you for watching the Whitfield Report live on the Right to Offend Media Network. Make sure to check out Sam's books on Amazon, Audible, and Kindle. You can follow Sam on X at SamW_NGC and the Right to Offend Media Network at RTO Media. Like, comment, subscribe, and share with your friends. And until next time, God bless, God save this great nation. God, freedom, legacy, in that order.